Running financials inside of a small business can kind of be a little bit like the Goldilocks story. You can do way too much, or maybe way too hard, or maybe it's way too soft, or you're not doing enough. But somewhere in the middle is this just right spot. And if you're a small business owner, finding the just right can be critical to help you stay on track to growing your business. Welcome to Small Business Big Visibility. We're inside a mini series where we're talking all about the business fundamentals I wish someone had shared with me when I was first getting started in business. Today's episode is all about financials for a small business. When you're first getting started, it's really easy to know your financials because all you've got is zero sales, $0 in the bank, and a hope and a dream. But then you get your first sale and money flows in, and now the stress starts on the financial and accounting side. Knowing how to do the book work for a business can be kind of stressful. And most entrepreneurs that I've met will push that job away as quickly as possible. Most of the time, they pick it up and put it up on a shelf. And they're like, yeah, I'll come back to you when I'm not busy. Problem is, you're always busy. So the financials, the accounting, the bookwork, that just kind of sits there and it becomes a bigger and bigger mess, a bigger nightmare until you're afraid to pull it off the shelf because it's such a mess. That's not cool, but it's the reality for many small business owners. Now, there's a simple way when you're first getting started that many business owners start with, and it's just this running tally in your head. Like, okay, I know Bob owes me 300. I got to pay 150 over here. That leaves 150. And you're just running these numbers in your head all the time. That's okay when you're very first getting started for the first few days. But right after that, you've got to move to something else. And it can be as easy as writing it down, or maybe use a spreadsheet to try and keep track of these numbers. It doesn't have to be overly fancy when you get started, but you do need to keep a record of the money flowing in and the money flowing out. That's critical. That's good business. And if you're just getting started, it may be that Goldilocks zone is just keeping your numbers written down. As your business grows, develops, and gets a little bit bigger, your accounting and your bookwork and your financials will all get more complicated as the business scales. Now, it's important, don't get too obsessed with every single little detail. I had a bookkeeper approach me a little while ago, and we were having a meeting just talking about different parts of business. And they asked me a very specific number that they thought I should know, and it was how much I was paying one of my employees. And I was like, I don't know, not my problem. Now, I could have easily gone into my accounting system, grabbed that number, pulled a report, and seen all of the different data points around it, but it wasn't something I needed to keep in my head. That bookkeeper, however, was absolutely certain I had to keep those numbers in my head. That is ridiculous. A small business owner has way too many things to worry about, way too many things to think about, way too many hats that they're wearing to ever go in and worry about numbers that don't truly affect the business. There are some numbers you should have that you should be aware of and keeping tabs on, but then there's a multitude of other numbers that accountants and bookkeepers will think, oh, these are important numbers. Yeah, they kind of are. They do tell a story about your business, but you don't have every fact of a story memorized. You just know the most critical pieces as a business owner. And then it's important to know where you can go and get those numbers. As a small business owner, you don't have time to go in and deep dive on all the financials all the time. And it wouldn't be healthy if you did. That would be making it way too hard. But on the flip side, you can't go around in your business not sure if you even have any money in the bank. That's way too on the soft side with Goldilocks. Just right in the middle is knowing those key numbers. So let's now talk about some of the key numbers that probably would matter in your business. Some of the numbers are not even true accounting numbers, but they kind of relate back to your financials. And they are, how many leads do you have out here? How many sales have you made in a certain period of time? What's the dollar amount of those sales? And then have they paid? Whether or not that money's actually made it into your bank account or if it's sitting in the accounts receivable, it's good to understand how much you have in accounts receivable so that you can make sure that it's not growing this giant pile. I once was talking to a business owner and he explained that he was in a position where he needed to go and get a loan. And they were looking at his financials and he didn't really understand all the financials at that point. And they looked at his accounts receivable and it had been growing steadily for like 6 months or longer, and huge amounts of money in accounts receivable. He thought he's doing great because, man, look at all this money that we've earned, but they haven't paid yet, which is why he was in a cash, which is why he was in the cash crunch, which is why he was going to get a loan from the bank. The bank looked at that and said, "You need to fix your accounts receivable problem, dude. That pile of money sitting there is way too big. You need to make sure you're getting that cleaned out on a regular basis. It can't be aging that far. We're not even going to loan you money." And they just whoop, kicked him out of the bank, sent him on his merry way. He had to figure out that accounts receivable. When he did, he was so grateful the bank didn't give him money, because once he knew to watch that number and keep that number at a manageable level, it kept the cash flow flowing into his business, which means his bank account was healthier. And when the bank account was healthier, he didn't need the dumb business loan anyway. But then another number you want to keep track of is how much cash is flowing back out of the business and where it's flowing. You don't have to have it memorized, but it's good to glance through that. There are a ton of different numbers that you could go at, but those are a few of the key ones that will help you keep a good map of what's happening for your business, so that you don't have these huge surprises popping up and scaring you. Now, I want to talk about, as your business grows, things will get more complicated with your books. Things will get more complicated with accounting. You may have a couple of different types of sets of books that you may end up keeping as your business grows. But if you're very small, if you're just getting started, if your business isn't that complex, keep the accounting simple, but don't put it on the shelf. Keep it in front of you. Keep that bookkeeping, keep the financials all in front of you, so that you can reference it on a regular basis and have a picture of what the financial health of your business truly is.